Hey everybody, and welcome to Hayes Tech and ROM Reviews. I know it's been a while since I put some videos out, but those of you that follow my channel probably already know why. I'm not going to dwell on it, but I have had a second stroke. It's going to take me a while to get back into the ROM reviews. I will be truthful about that. It's not that I don't know what I'm doing, it's I forget a lot of words, and I would just have to script everything. It is slowly coming back. I think the memory part is what pisses me off the most. I still have little feeling in my right side. It's tingling though, a lot, almost like your arm's asleep. So you guys kind of know what that feels like. So I am getting some feeling back, so I'm looking forward to that. Like I said, guys, I get 30%. I'm going to be one happy camper. So I wanted to talk about one of my favorite all-time cameras. It's actually the one we're recording on right now. It is the first camera I ever purchased, and it is the Lumix G7. And as always, remember to like, share, and subscribe. You hit that notification icon to get a notification of my videos as soon as they're released. That way you don't miss anything. Now that I've had the camera for about 3 years, and by the way, guys, as much as I hate to do it, I need to get a new camera. I want to try to get a video camera. It's something that'll be a little easier for me to use one-handed. So that means I have to sell one of my cameras, and my guess is this is the one I'm going to sell. And as you guys can see, I am running it right now, and everything is working great. I am running an autofocus right now, and you guys saw. Now I step out of the picture and come back, and it picks up on me. Is it as quick as the Canon? No. Is it as reliable as the Canon? No. If I didn't have this screen to say and be able to look at and make sure that I'm in frame and that I am focused, I'd have to throw a lot of video away. As a matter of fact, I'm redoing the intro and one other section in this video just because of focus. The Panasonic Lumix just does not have the best autofocus out. And if you're a YouTuber, especially a one-man show like me, that autofocus means a lot. And if the autofocus isn't working, then you're in trouble. So that autofocus has to work. As you guys can see, it is on autofocus right now, and it is doing a pretty damn good job. So you know, I have to give kudos to the camera where kudos are due, man. Now, this camera comes with a 14 to 42. That's the one that came with this camera. It is a 14 to 42 millimeter. It is an outstanding lens. If you guys only get one lens, and you guys will hear me say it again in the video, probably 2 or 3 times, get this lens. It is the Lumix lens. It did come with this camera. Again, guys, I highly recommend it. The one I'm shooting with is a prime lens, and it is f 1.7. And it is a 25 millimeter only. It's not a variable. So that's what we're shooting with this and most of the video. This would be equivalent to Canon's 50 millimeter prime lens, which I do a lot of shooting on the Canon with. Again, I love this lens for just, you know, vlogging. If I'm just going to be talking straight to the camera. It doesn't have any image stabilization in it at all, so that's something you want to look at. But again, for what this lens was made for, which is just, you know, straight talking to the lens, vlogging like what I'm doing right now, you don't need that. You know, that you set it at the distance you want, and away you go. You're usually going to be using a stand or something like that. The camera, the G7, does not have any image stabilization built in. It's not that bad. Especially if you use a little rig like I do. I use a tripod, sit it on my hip, and hold it out, and it actually holds it pretty steady. The only one issue I have with this camera, and I've said it in the past, and I'll say it again, I have to say that this is its only downfall, is its lack of good quality autofocus. Again, it's autofocusing right now, and it will, as long as I don't move around a lot. But if I move around, if I get out of frame, and then pop back up into frame, see, it's still blurry. And again, all I have to do to get it to, you know, really get tight on my face again is just touch the screen. There. Now it's picked up my face very nicely. So, again, for a vlogging camera, a YouTube camera, I highly recommend this. It's been out since 2015. I'm sorry, guys. It's been out since 2015, so this camera's kind of getting old, but it'll shoot 4K 30 frames per second, which is plenty enough for me, and it does everything that I needed to do, except for the autofocus. I wish it was better, but I love this camera. Yes, I made a video about this a long time ago, but it was right after I got it. Now that I've had it for a couple years and have used it, how do I feel about this camera as a main shooter in 2019? Okay guys, I just wanted to give you a look at the Panasonic Lumix, at all the buttons and features, and guys, I'm not going to go over everything. I don't profess to know everything about this camera. I'm going to show you the settings that I have, or that I use, and just we'll go from there. First thing I want to show you right off the bat, of course, is the lens on this. I do have the 25mm lens on it, and in order to take this lens off, there's a little button on the side here. This little red button right here. You push it and turn the lens counterclockwise, and the lens comes off just like that. You can see the sensor in there now, and to put it back on, you line up the little red dot with the little red dot. If I can do it left-handed, just like that, and then you spin it until it locks in place, and it's that simple. So what I want to do is I just want to tilt the camera down, and we're just going to start on the top. This is our microphone jack. We'll get to that when we move around the side, but we have settings here, and I'm going to have to change the lens to go into the settings. Okay, on this button over here, this is the one that switches from your shot modes, whether you want a single burst, triple burst, 2 burst, continuous burst, or if you want to do slow motion, you know, and stuff like that. These are all of your settings. I always shoot on the very last one, which is the single burst. Yeah, see how that has a single burst, and if you look at the next one, it shows like a tri-burst, and then the next one is like continuous as long as you hold it down, and so on and so on. And then you get to your high-speed shots and your slow motion shots. Now I always keep this all the way over here when I'm just recording video, unless of course I'm going to do some slow motion effects or something like that. And then if we move over to the side, there is the microphone where you can adapt your live microphone to. And there you can see the opening port. This is a 3-ring or a TRRS. Now you do need an adapter if you're going to use like a Rode video mic, or you know, any of the other microphones I have, and I just use this quick adapter. It just takes it from a TRRS, which is a 3-ring, down to a 2-ring TRS. So that's what I use, and of course this is by Rode as well. Okay, back on the top, as you can see right here, this is the shoe for your adapters, whether you want to run a flash. This is usually where I put my microphone hookup to. Then if we swing over to this side, this is going to be where you change all of your settings, your video record settings or your picture settings. And I know this is hard to see because the whole camera is silver. The black ones are much better to see, but of course I got the silver one. It's hard to see. Now I usually shoot it on picture or on video mode, which is the setting on here specifically for shooting video. But there are several settings. I don't know if I can go through these. Okay, you have the C, which means custom. Then you have the manual or video mode, manual video mode, which is the one I use the most. Then you have an M, an S, an A, a P. Those are your settings for your custom. M means full manual operation, and then you have your S, your A, and your P, just like the Canon cameras. If you have it on either one of those, it will give you certain settings that you can actually change and lock in some of the other settings. Again, I only use this for video, so I'm always using this one right here, which is the little video camera with the M, which just stands for manual video mode. Here's your on-off switch. Switch that to on. That puts power to the entire camera and allows you to actually take video or picture. Again, this only has one click for on and off. It's not like the Canon. So when you're on, you can take either pictures or videos. It all depends on the setting you have here. Also, if we move over to here, these buttons are function buttons, and you can program every single one of them to do whatever you want. Now, I don't use them at all, to be honest with you. Everything I do, I use the screen for. I use the touch screen to change my settings. But the nice thing about these buttons are you can program them to do anything you want. It's all in the settings. You just go into settings and change them to do whatever you want them to do. This, of course, is your record mode for video record. And if we move to this button here, this will change your... These are just settings that you can change on the fly, you know, just like on any other camera. It has a push button and a ring that you can ISO, stuff like that. The same for this button here. It also has a little push button and a ring to turn. Again, guys, these are buttons I don't mess with, you know, but depending on what you're in, whether you're in the the S, the A, or the P, changes what these do. Even in video mode, that changes. You know, one will change your ISO, the other will change something else, and then when you switch it over to, you know, like the M mode, then they change again. So I'm not going to go through what these buttons do on every single setting up here. But I'm just telling you that they're there, they're nice to use, and for those of you that like to use cameras like these just because of those buttons that they have, this camera has them in spades, which is awesome. Okay, now we are on the right side of the camera, and this is going to be where you access some other doors for plugging in other accessories. Again, these are things that I don't use. But you do have you have remote, which if you plug in your remote switch, you can plug it in there. HDMI, and the bottom one is for AV out. So that takes care of that. Now, this camera is not waterproof. I will tell you guys that right now, but it does seal itself up very well. I used it in the snow and had no problems with it whatsoever. Okay, we are around the back of the camera now, and you guys can see even more buttons. Again, the one here on top is programmable, just like the ones that were on the top that I showed you. This is your playback button. Then the one over here is your display, and then your center ring, you have ISO on the top, white balance on the bottom, and then your function 3, which is a programmable button that you can program to do whatever you want again. And then this button over here, guys, I can't profess to say I know exactly what that's for, so I'm not even going to tell you I do. Again, I don't use these buttons very much. I use the touchscreen for almost everything. And we don't want to miss the viewfinder, which is right here. And it does have a focus button right here on the side, so you can focus it to fit your eye. Now, one thing to notice is on the bottom of this, you see this little window right here. That is a light sensor, and if that is blocked, if you block that with your finger, you lose your viewfinder. So just be aware of that. Over on this side is your microphone. Again, I showed you that, but you basically just flip that out, and that's where your microphone plugs into. Okay, there you can see the battery door that holds the battery and your SD card all in one, and basically you just push the button in, it flips out, and you have your battery and your SD card. And this has to flip completely down in order to get your battery out. There's nothing I can do about that. But I just used a quick release. I used a quick release on the tripod, take it off, and use it. Now on the stand that I'm shooting on, I don't have to do that. It has a very narrow connection, so it really works well. But both your SD card and your battery goes in the same slot. Yes, it's a pain in the ass. It'd be nice if it'd be on the side, better access, but it's not. So, okay, next I want to talk about the functions of the camera. So, we've taken care of everything on the outside that I wanted to show you. I'm sure there are things I'm missing, but it's the way it is, guys. I'm showing you what I use. Now, this is the flip out screen for the camera. So you can see some of the menus that are there, and these menus or these settings can be changed just by touching them. See, and it brings out even more settings, and I'm not going to go over all of them. You can touch to focus just like you can with the Canon, which is really cool. But this thing shows you everything. You have a microphone sensor that shows you where your microphone's at all times. You know what you're recording. As you can see, when I talk, you can see where your mic level's at. This right here, this one doesn't have it, which is it's really stupid. For you not to have some kind of microphone sensor to let you know what your microphone is doing is just completely idiotic. But that's the way Canon did it, and you know, it is what it is. Now, I did want to show you that if you cover up the sensor on here, you notice how the screen goes off just like it does on the Canon. So that works as well. I did want to go into the custom settings on this, and once the screen is flipped out, you press the center button over here, and it should take us to settings. These are the settings. Now, these are the only settings that I'm going to get when I am in video mode. But if I change the button over here, you know, to F and P and S, what is it? To either M, S, A, or P, will determine on what I get here. On video mode, that's what I get. If I was to go to completely manual, and then I would hit the menu key, notice I picked up an extra icon up there, and that is for the camera. So we're going to stay on that. If I touch the camera, these are the settings 1 through 8. I am not going to go over every single setting, but I am going to scroll through and let you guys see how I have it set up for myself. So there is 1 of 8, 2 of 8, oops, I covered the screen again, 3 of 8, and 4 of 8 for my settings for camera, 5 of 8, 6 of 8, 7, or that's 8 of 8. Where was 7 of 8? There's 7 of 8. And 8 of 8. I'm going to go into the video mode, or actually I'm going to go back up here to camera, go back to the first one, photo style. Now we're going to go down to video now. The one I really wanted to go over, as you guys can see, these are all my settings. Photo style I have for standard. You can change the photo settings for whenever you're taking video. I just have it set for standard, but if you go in there, you can change it to whatever you want. I'm just going to leave it at standard. Your filter settings, I run with no filters at all. Snap movie, I have off. Record format, we're running MP4. You can run AVCHD or MP4. Record quality. These are the different record qualities. Okay, guys, first setting is 4K, and this is 3840 by 2160, 30 frames per second. The next one down is MP4. This is 4K, 3840 by 2160, but it shoots in 24 frames per second. That's basically all you're changing. If we go down to the next one, that is 1920 by 1080, so it's 1080p, 60 frames per second. The next one is 1920 by 1080, which is again 1080p by 30 frames per second. This one is 720p, 30 frames per second. And the one under that is VGA, which is only 640 by 480. So, yeah, we don't want that. I usually leave it in 4K, 30 frames per second, unless I want to just shoot 1080p. That's the one I really wanted to go over with you. So, 2 of 5, autofocus, you know, those are your autofocus settings. You have picture mode, continuous autofocus, your metering mode. 3 of 5, highlight, shadow. You can see these. This is my settings. This is how I have it set. If you guys like the way my video looks, you know, then use my settings. But it's fun to play around with. Your dynamic range, your resolution, diffraction, compensation, none of that I mess with. Luminance, I have it at 16, 255. Then page 4 of 5, external teleconverse. I don't know what that is. I don't use it. And you have your digital zoom, which I also do not use, as well as the FLKR decrease. Don't use it. Now 5 of 5, these are your mic allow. This is where you set up your microphone. I'll try to get a microphone over here to show you how it works. But you have your mic level adjuster. Notice the special mic is not lit. That is because I don't have a microphone plugged in. So next what I'm going to do is plug in a microphone and show you guys the settings on that. Okay, and the microphone is turned on, so I want to go through some of the settings on here for you. If we click on special mic, these are the 4 choices you get. You get stereo, lens auto, shotgun, and S shotgun. For what I use it for, I like to have my my microphone facing forward, capturing, you know, at the lens area. So I always have it on the 3rd setting, which is just straight shotgun. I couldn't tell you about the other settings. I don't use them. So I wanted to show you that. Then you have your mic level limiter. You can have it on or off. I usually turn it off when I'm setting it up, but when it's all set up, I turn it on. Now, mic level adjust. Once you have a special mic in it, you can actually adjust the input level. You do not want it to go, you know, you want to try to keep this as low as possible. So if I go test, would I have that all the way down? Test. We don't want this to get red at all. So audio test 1 2 3, audio test 1 2 3. See, if I was to go up into here, then it would go up into the red quite a bit. See how much red is showing? So that's why you want to keep that. What you do is you lower your level down as low as you can until you see the red disappear when you're talking. So that's how you set that up. I usually have it right around -6. And if I go test, it's still in the red. So we're going to go back to about there. And if I go test, still in the red. Well, there, okay. Right now I'm about where I would be at vlogging distance away from the microphone on this camera, and it's not showing red. So I will tell you guys, compared to other cameras out there, like my Canon for instance, the mics and the pickups in this camera are outstanding. I wish my Canon had the pickups that this has in it. It's one of the best ever made, and I am not alone in that. Quite a few other people in the camera business that know a lot more than I do will agree with me. And then you have your wind cut and lens noise cut. Now once I have that set, I'll usually take that mic limiter and I'll turn it on. But before you change that, you should turn it off. It really doesn't matter, but I do. But I have it on now, so that's usually how I have it set up. And those are my video settings. Next up is going to be the custom settings. Again, I'm not going to go through every one of these. I'm just going to kind of quickly pan through them so you guys can see how I have it set up. Now these are camera settings, so you guys might want to see these. So there's 1 of 9, 2 of 9, 3 of 9, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time here because, again, I got most of these settings off of YouTube video, and they work great. So these are the settings I use. 4 of 9, and then again, the more I get to know the cameras, the more some of the stuff I am learning how to turn on instead of have it off, and I'll change it around to better suit me. 5 of 9, these are the settings for 5 of 9. Zebra pattern, all that. If you guys, it's nice to have. It'll help you keep things in focus and have your color correction right. I don't use them. It works great for me without them. 6 of 9. Exposure meter, that is on. Then you have your LF or LVF display. Monitor display, monitor info display, record area. 7 of 9, remaining display, auto review, function button set, quick menu, dial set. Then you have your video button, eye sensor, touch setting, touch scroll. Again, I'm not going to go through every one of these. And the last of your settings are there. Last but not least are the regular settings. These are settings that will come in every camera that you will use a lot. First up is your clock set. This is where you set your clock up, clock and date, time and date, stuff like that. And you have your world time, travel date, Wi-Fi, very important one. You can turn that on or off, especially if you're using your app. One of the most important things about this phone is the app that comes with it. I highly recommend that you guys give it a try. It works great. It's one of the best camera apps I've ever seen, but you have to have the Wi-Fi on in order to run that app with it. Then you have your beep, 2 of 5, live view mode. Then you have your monitor display, monitor luminance, economy mode, and USB mode. Whoops. 3 of 5, TV connection, menu resume, menu background, menu information and language. Again, I'm not going to go through all these guys. I just hit on the ones I feel are pertinent. On 4 of 5, you have your vision display, exposure comp, no reset, and reset Wi-Fi settings. Now notice whatever I touch on, the top here is going to explain it for you. Like if this one here is highlighted, it'll explain it up here in the area, up here in this top area, what what it does. So if you don't know what it is, just highlight it and then go back so you can see the highlighted one that you picked. And on the top there, you'll see that scrolling across the top. That will explain what that function does. 5 of 5. You have your pixel reference, sensor cleaning, which is nice because this will clean your sensor off. Demo mode and format. That'll format your memory card that you have in it. And the last is your video mode. This is your video playback mode, and these aren't really that important. I'm not even going to read through them, but these are what you have for your video playback mode. There you have it. That is it for settings. So that takes care of all of the buttons, bells, and whistles on the camera. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. I wanted to try to keep this one short and sweet, but I really wanted to go in depth on the camera as much as I could. I feel I didn't do it justice last time I did a video on it. It was basically a an introductory video to the camera. I just gave you some quick thoughts on it, but I did want to really go over the camera, really heavy this time, and show you all the features, the settings, and stuff like that. What do I think about this camera? Now, I said, is this camera worth it, in 2019? I think yes, it is. If this is all you can afford, again, you can pick up really good deals on this camera for between $350 and $400. That is with a really nice lens. Some of the better cameras, like the Canon, any of the Canon lens cameras, they start at $500, $450, and they go up depending on the lenses you get on. most of the time you're not even going to get a lens, and they don't shoot 4K, but they have outstanding autofocus. I recommend going, if you're going to go Canon, go with the T6i and above. Don't go with the T5. Even though it's still a good camera, I just think you're gaining extra megapixels with the T6. It jumps up over 20 megapixels, and I think you get like 18 on the G5. Don't quote me on that, or not the G5, but the T5i. So Canon is an outstanding camera, and I love them for the autofocus. I think they have the best, except for Sony. Sony also has outstanding autofocus. But that is the only ding I give to this camera. But guys, if you're on a budget and you're looking for a YouTube camera and you're just going to be doing vlogging like this, it's not that important, because you're setting your focus, you're locking it. You're probably going to use manual focus anyways, or I'm using autofocus on this, and you can see it's not fading in and out. And as long as you're staying at a close range like this and you have a viewfinder, you keep an eye on yourself, you're not going to have any problems with it. So I do still highly recommend this camera in 2019. If it were not for the autofocus, I wouldn't even have a Canon, because I love the 4K on this camera, and I love the image quality that comes with this camera. Even with a 14 megapixel sensor in it, really cropped sensor, I still love the image I'm getting with this camera. So that's all I have. I really appreciate you guys watching. If you have any questions, make sure you post below. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. And also hit that notification bell icon. That way you guys get a notification of any of my videos as soon as I release them. That's all I have. I will see you guys on the next one.